Hello, Mat 1 students. Today we're going to be looking at the end table project that we're starting in class, and specifically we're going to be looking at how we can draw up our rails, both the long and short rails, also known as the aprons, as you look at your project plans. And we're going to be using a program called AutoCAD for that. Now you might be thinking, why do I have Onshape open, and why am I showing you the model of that project? Well, I wanted to kind of just give you a visual before we get rolling in the actual design program, AutoCAD, so you could see what I'm talking about. So if we look at the front view of this 3D model, this apron or side piece, as you can see, is connecting to the legs together. We're going to be cutting this out using our CNC equipment, but we're going to create some type of detail along that bottom edge. Now in my model, I have just a simple arc, but you are going to be able to do whatever you want as far as your design for that bottom edge, but just understand that the more complicated you make it, the more time it's going to take you to draw that. So I'm going to give you an idea of what kind of complexity we can do and draw in the AutoCAD program. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we got to do is open up that AutoCAD program, which is going to be found on my laptops in the class set, and the AutoCAD program that we're using has a letter A for AutoCAD, and we should have either 21 or 22 year on our AutoCAD. So to get started in this program, it's a little bit different than Onshape. It's going to automatically open up your workspace. There's no creating a document, so we're going to just start fresh here. We're going to draw half of one of the long aprons. And of course, we have two of the long aprons and two short aprons, but you only have to draw one of each of those pieces. So to get started, we're going to start with the rectangle tool. And just like Onshape, the AutoCAD tool for a rectangle, it looks like a rectangle, and this is going to allow us to draw a simple rectangle. Now you're going to see that it says specify the first corner point. Now we could just left click anywhere, but I like to start at the origin of the program, which is going to be 0, 0. And you'll kind of think of this as like if we were graphing something, we always have the XY origin as 0, 0. And so the same thing applies here in this drawing program. So we're going to type in 0, click the tab button on the keyboard, and that locks in the first number and moves over to the second number, and we'll type in 0 again. With both of those numbers typed in, we can hit enter, and that locks us in at that origin, or what we'll call our home, when we go to the CNC machines. So there I have my corner point. At this point I can go ahead and draw up the rest of my rail here, or my apron. And so like I said, we're going to be drawing one of each of these, the long apron and the short apron. But to start with the long apron, we're actually only going to draw half of that. And the reason we do that is because we want to be able to mirror this and make it symmetrical, and not have our design look kind of offset in a way. So to begin to draw our rectangle, you'll notice that the length is currently selected or highlighted on the screen here. So I'm going to change this length from 3.25 to half of 12.5, which is going to be 6 1/4, or 6.25. Once I have that number typed in, I'm going to lock that in by clicking the tab button on the keyboard. And now I can change the width of this rectangle to 4 inches, because that's my overall width that I need. So here is half of the apron that I'll be creating on the CNC. Of course, it's missing some detail work that we're going to draw up here. Once I have that, I'm going to take the line tool, and I'm going to click on that and draw a line that goes along the left side of my rectangle, and also a line that goes along the bottom edge of my rectangle. So by left clicking on the 0, 0 or home, I want to go straight up. You want to make sure you don't angle your line, so one way to do that is by holding the shift button. While you move your cursor up, it'll lock that in, and you can left click. We're going to hit escape because we don't need to keep drawing a line connected to that one that we just drew. But we also want to draw one along the bottom edge as well. So starting at our 0, 0, we're going to move along the bottom here, and left click, and the same thing, we can hit escape. So you should have two lines that run along two edges of the rectangle, and both lines extend beyond the actual edges of the rectangle that we originally drew. These lines are going to be used to offset to create some of the detail work for my example here. So next I'm going to use that offset tool. The offset tool kind of looks a little bit different than an Onshape, but still has the same meaning behind it. And again, that's going to be used to offset any lines or edges. Now, unlike the Onshape program that you've been using, you can't just select a side of like a rectangle. What happens is if we would actually select the entire rectangle, and it would offset the whole thing either in or out or whatever direction you wanted to go. And also what's different about this program is the fact that you have to type in the distance prior to actually offsetting that line or selecting that line. So we're going to say, so it says specify offset distance. At this point, let's go ahead and type that in. For our sake, we are going to be offsetting the bottom line here 1 1/4 inches in, so 1.25. So I'll type that in and hit enter. It now asks me to select my object to offset. So I'm going to select my bottom line here, and you want to move your cursor up. Unlike Onshape, this program does not have an arrow showing which direction is going to be offset, but the line actually offsets the direction that your cursor is currently moving, as you can tell by the screen here. I'll left click, and that's going to lock in that line. We're also going to offset this line off to the side here, but we're going to offset that half of the overall length of the rectangle that I currently have here, which is 6 1/4, and so half of that would be 3 1/8. So we'll type in 3.125, and that's going to give me my center point there. And now I'm done with the offset tool at the moment. So I'm going to hit escape. This time I'm going to go ahead and use the circle tool, and the circle that I'm going to be using is a tan circle. So in order to create the detail that I want, I have some curves and arcs, but I also have some straight lines that I'm going to be adding in here. And so I'm going to be showing you how to use the circle and the line tool together, as well as the trim feature, to delete and create a simple but yet elegant profile for your project. We're going to go ahead and select the top line that we offset earlier, the middle line that we offset, and the bottom of our rectangle here. That symbol that you saw as I was left clicking is simply the tangent icon. And so what that means is 3 points of this circle are tangent to those 3 lines that I already selected. I'm also going to go ahead and use the line tool. The line tool is going to create a simple straight line from the left corner of my rectangle, and I want this line to be tangent to that circle that I just drew. So in order to create a tangent point on a circle, I can just go ahead and type in the word tan, T-A-N, and hit enter. And as I go closer to that circle, you can see that tangent icon starts to appear. If I left click on that circle, it'll make sure that my line has a tangent point to that circle. I'll hit escape, and that shows me that I have the start of a detail. Now I have some trimming to do, which I'll show you here in a little bit, but you can start to see that bottom edge profile. I also want to go ahead and draw another circle over here. And this time I'm going to go ahead and use the tan radius circle instead of the tan circle. I'm choosing the bottom edge and the right edge of this rectangle, and I'm going to choose a radius of 0.5. And you can clearly see that that circle is a little bit smaller, not as large of a radius, and that's exactly what I wanted for this project. I can now go ahead and draw a line that's tangent from this circle on the left side to the one that I just drew to create a neat little detail for this project. So I'm going to click on the line tool again. First I'm going to type in the word tangent, or tan for tangent. Select my first point, which would be the left circle here. And I want this to be tangent at the bottom of the circle, so I'm going to go ahead and type in tangent one more time and lock that in by hitting enter, and just left click on that circle. I can see that that moved my line to a point that is tangent on that circle. By hitting escape, then I will get rid of that line tool, and now I can go back and do some trimming. To trim in this program, it's under the modify portion of AutoCAD. similar to where offset was. So we'll click on that icon. It first asks me to select objects to trim. So we'll go ahead and select anything that we do not want. So if you hover over something that you don't want, you'll see that the line starts to disappear, almost becoming invisible, but almost still there at the same time. In order to actually get rid of it, you have to left click and then it deletes itself. So you can see what my profile is starting to look like here. You may want yours to look something different than mine. It does not have to be the exact same. This is just simply to give you an idea of what you can do with this program. So you can see what I'm getting rid of that I don't necessarily need. Anything that would not be part of that bottom profile, I can now go ahead and delete. You can also delete any extra lines that I have that are connected to that profile. Now I didn't delete this left line here, and that's because I didn't want to just delete part of it. I want to delete the whole thing. So that way I don't have multiple lines overlapping each other, especially when we get to the next program, which is going to be Partworks. So here is half of my my profile on the bottom edge of my long rail. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and mirror this. We use the mirror tool in Onshape, and so it's nothing different. We're going to go ahead and select that tool under the Modify portion of AutoCAD here. It asks you to select your object. In this case, we want to mirror that whole thing. We're going to hit Enter, and then it says to select the first point of your mirror line. Well, our mirror line is going to be the right side of our original rectangle that we drew. So we're going to left click on the top of that rectangle edge, move that down, straight down, left click again, and hit No for erase source objects because we want to keep our original. And now we have this overall profile for our rail. The one thing that we still have to delete though in this program is going to be that middle or center line now that runs on our long rail right down the middle. So we're going to go ahead and click the Trim tool, select that line, and then we can delete it. So there's what my bottom edge of my profile would look like for my long rail. At this point, we have everything that we want, or maybe we don't. You can always go back and edit this still. This is nothing set in stone. You know, this is just a simple program to help you draw up what that bottom detail is going to look like for you. But if we are done, we're going to go ahead and save this. To save, we're going to go up to the top here. The A kind of represents file. So if we click that, it allows you to go down and have several different options. In order to save to the computer, you're going to click Save As. It's going to pop up on a different window. We want to make sure to save it to our file, our OneDrive here on the computer, and then we can go ahead and change a few things, making sure we save it in our Mat1 folder. We'll make sure to name it our name, Pratt in this case, and this is the long apron drawing. The file type is the important part though. This is what's going to allow us to be able to bring this into the next program, which is Partworks. The file type for this file needs to be 2007 DXF. As you can see, I have several other files that I've been working on in that same file type. So this is really important because the CNC will not be able to read any other file type other than this version. Once we have that, we can go ahead and hit Save, and now I can go ahead and move into the next program. We'll do the same thing for our short aprons as well. One thing that I'll mention about the short aprons is that obviously that beginning rectangle that you start with is going to be smaller than what we did here in this video, but you probably want to have a similar design between both the long aprons and the short aprons, so that way the whole project kind of matches and goes well together. If you have any questions, feel free to watch the video again, replay for any of the different steps or tools that I showed you in this video. You can also ask another classmate, or you can stop me in the class for help, or check in with one of the interns as well. Hopefully you found this video easy to watch and helpful along your way of making your own project.